Entry complete. Like, comment, subscribe. The archive remembers. This video contains content that some viewers may find disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
I scrolled the entire board up and down, but didn't find a thread like this. Every city has its own legends, either completely made up or really strange and unexplainable things. Sosach is a huge board, with anons from all over the Commonwealth of Independent States and even farther countries. So let's share stories. Probably the most famous legend about my hometown Murmansk is the Kola Super Deep Borehole, or the Well to Hell. Every new kilometer they drilled supposedly brought misfortune to the country. When the drillers reached the 13,000 meters, the USSR fell apart. Shortly before that, at a terrifying depth no one in the world had ever reached, they heard blood-curdling sounds like moans and screams from hundreds of people in agony. Then, a powerful roar and an explosion deep underground. The drillers said they felt pure horror, as if something terrifying and invisible jumped out of the shaft, and being unseen made it even scarier. Their stories got printed in Finnish and Swedish newspapers. They claimed the Russians had released a demon from hell. I didn't know anything about this story when I was a kid. My parents must have shielded me from all the creepy stuff. I knew a few legends about local maniacs, but it was almost impossible to collect any real info on them, so those tales were just fairy stories to me. But maybe someone from Murmansk here knows something?
About your city, I only know that you have a fucking huge seaport there that never freezes.
I'll tell everything I know. Starting with history. The city was founded thanks to a railroad station, basically the closest one to the Kazakhstan border. It stands near swamps. Some districts are literally built on them. Happened because of the founder whore who wanted to build it somewhere else, but where he wanted to start construction there were fields. Peasants all gathered and told him to fuck off, threw a party. This drunken scum built the city, not only in a swamp but also next to a tiny river that finally dried up completely this summer. On my memory not much weird shit happened, but I remember some incomprehensible flying huyvina over us. If old pics are left on my phone I'll throw them. Also once at night something really fucking loud banged. In the morning, nothing found, blamed on earthquake. But what fucking earthquake on the West Siberian platform? Also, grannies say maybe people just disappear sometimes. Well, otherwise very little creepy stuff. Also from the mill side at night, strange sounds come out, although it doesn't work at night. Overall small town, little creepy stuff, so not really a city, just some shit.
OP, what's on your pick? In my city, there's nothing. Only on my street, there was an abandoned house. They demolished it. We went inside. Creepy as fuck. There was a Soviet spring bed standing, mattress soaked in dried blood, and photos lying on it. Don't remember exactly what was on them anymore. Also a stove, food on it. Main thing, tons of church candles there. Seemed like some old granny who got possessed or something was there. Also tons of maple trees growing on the property. Now the house is demolished, trees cut down. Shame, good spot for school stalker shit.
Kaliningrad Kun here. Heard many times that in old German fortifications, abandoned of course, people disappear. Don't know how often it happens.
Go and check it yourself. I'm from DS2. Shameful? But I don't know any legends except one that everyone knows who doesn't know legends about DS2 in principle. In other words, it reached its popularity limit long ago. Rumors about it don't contain a single scary thing anymore, and the increased interest turned the legend into vanilla waste for lovers. Talking about the Griffin Tower, I won't post the legends, there are too many of them. There was a time I lived in a house near Rumiancevsky Garden on Kadetskaya Line. Me and my friend then first heard about the Alchemist Tower, and since the ill-fated pharmacy of Dr. Pell was very close to us, we decided to check. When we found the entrance to the arch, we were surprised reading a long story from the locals of the yard on an A4 sheet. Yes, about how everyone got sick of it. No tower exists and fuck off. In short, we didn't break into the yard, just continued drinking in the alleys. Anyway, lots of pretty scary rumors go around about Petersburg legends. I hope there's someone here who knows local stories.
Go and check it yourself. How will he know he disappeared?
Finally, a decent thread in/SN. Fucking hell. Brothers, I'm from Omsk myself. Any fellow countrymen here? Googled 100 times abandoned places in Omsk, haunted houses in Omsk, scary and mysterious places, and so on. Nothing really good came up, except some forum mention of a ghost girl in the park of the 30th anniversary of VLKSM on Mark Street. because godless commies punished them, oh lord. Built the park on top of an old cemetery, and even that was long ago and probably bullshit. Park isn't too big, but not small either. Also, there are 2 old wooden houses from eternally damp black rotten wood not far from the same park, across the road on Mayakovsky Street. The place is overgrown with serious weeds and gives off creep even in daylight. Perfect spot for a maniac to live, lol. Houses are 2-story, windows smashed out, though some glass left, boarded with plywood on the wall, at least used to be. Plaque, year 1927. Object of regional architectural heritage, protected by law. Yeah right, fucking well protected. Last summer saw workers there, Tajiks or Azeris, they were fencing the territory, asked why. They said we're gonna demolish house, boss said. It's been a year and a half already, houses still standing. Really strange buildings, upper floors look relatively civilized, like someone lived there not too long ago. Wonder when these houses were abandoned, maybe someone knows something about them, no? Continuing the theme of strange and mysterious places in Omsk, from other really unusual spots, Kosmichesky Prospekt in Chkalovsk, where Letov is from. During World War II, it was a takeoff strip for a military airfield, built by exiled Czechs, who died in droves and got buried shallow, right under that same runway. So basically, Chkalovsk is built on bones. But no paranormal activity there at all, if you don't count drunken entities and abibas with cigs and teeth and Yaga can in hand is that. And even those only crawl out at night under lights. Also, there's a small old cemetery in Port Arthur. In like 2005, they just quietly bulldozed it flat while no one was looking. And fuck it that people complained. We're gonna make a park there too or something, but since then nothing moved forward. Only put up a chapel in the middle of the wasteland, and half a dozen random crosses sticking out, that's it. On that cemetery during Civil War they supposedly buried executed people, first Reds then Whites, so in theory there should be creep there at night, well fuck knows. Also right in the city center there's a cemetery, literally next to the main square. Well, used to be. Godless commies built the Mayakovsky cinema on its place, and now there's OTP Bank too. On the cemetery site they put up some memorial cross. It's clear that looking for creep in cemeteries is the classic, but on the other hand it's all pretty banal, and high chance you'll find nothing, except Satanists in masks cutting up puppies on graves. Would like to know about real abandoned places, like houses, so you can climb around, look. Also, newcomers from brotherly Kazakhstan Pavlodar across the border tell a really blood-chilling tale about a dead 6 or 8-year-old girl who drowned at the Delphin recreation base. There's a district there called Usolka, something like a water club. Catamarans, yachts, boats, everything for people. Girl supposedly drowned long ago, early 90s. Parents fucked up. Then people heard crying by the water and all that. Creep level /SN. Someone even claimed to see her, houses right next to the river there. Asked my bro about this shit, he knows nothing like that, looks like bullshit and fairy tale. If there are Pavlodar people, speak up. Is it real or not? Also told about a hanged woman's ghost in the forest strips, that's also in Pavlodar. Well that's straight fire.
Creepy places in Omsk. It's the Omsk fortress, obviously. Swear to God there are ghosts there for sure, place where they exiled all the dissidents in Tsarist times, including Dostoevsky. I think there was even a pasta about it last summer. Gardkun told a story how he was sitting in the fortress at night and someone was walking upstairs on the floor, and when they went up with cops and dogs, nothing, nobody there. And in the old mansions in the city center, now there's Soom stores and shops. If you search around, ask guards who work there, I think they can tell some fucking wild stories. From interesting abandoned spots, relatively big building of DK Rubin not far from Kirova Street, fuck knows why they abandoned it. We climbed there, at first it was interesting, costumes still hanging untouched, paintings, pianos. Then everything got stolen, smashed and shat on. Gopota claimed it as their spot, which is kinda natural. Huge inscription on the wall in soot still there, smoke, drink, give birth to freaks. Fuck knows why, always cracked me up and made me smile. Such a huge gray building with black windows, kinda looks like Havrinka lol. Well of course it can't compete with the hospital, and nothing creepy there really. Pick related, that's it. Atmospheric though, right? Truth. Otherwise abandoned hospitals like in Yekaterinburg or Petersburg we don't have that. Shame. In Portik there are also some big ruins where the box houses stand on 4th Maryanovskaya, but that's all fucked up and Gopota hangout, not creepy. About Pavlodar, I think there was an abandoned Gagarin park where a maniac in the 90s cut up prostitutes. Then some young junkie hanged himself on a belt on the rusty Ferris wheel. Also supposedly you could see him hanging on the wheel when it got dark, that's what they said, if I'm not mixing it up. Now looks like all attractions are broken, park sold for cottage development.
Good evening. I live in Vladivostok, and right now it's 7:30 in the morning here. Our city is famous for its tunnels and communications. Tunnels and various underground passages lead far beyond the city limits. Entrances to them are not closed, and anyone can get in through ventilation shafts or bunkers. What I'm about to describe happened to my friend, who's about 20 now and fucked off to Moscow. One fine summer day, he with his pizduk friends, they were like 14, decided to climb around an abandoned bomb shelter. Got there, climbed in, started looking around, chose a tunnel at random and fucked off down it. He said they walked about an hour and came out into a big hall. In the next 10 minutes, my friend got really bad. Suffocation, claustrophobia, headache. Others felt uneasy too, but nobody wanted to admit it. He still convinced his friends to go back, and one of them decided to take some pics on his mobile. When they got to the surface and looked at what the friend photographed, saw whitish shadows around the edges of the shots. Within half a year, the guy who took the pics died of tuberculosis, though he was completely healthy before. Coincidence? Well, fuck knows. In a couple days, I'll try to find out more about our fucked up city.
Anons, what happened to the story with this tooth tree in the end?
Nothing. Searched info on who could do something like that besides Mari people, nobody fits. Some Mari moved to Ukraine in 19th century, but no info found about any Mari community in Kharkov or Priestkart in Mari. But it was 100% pagan sacrifice.
Chuvash people had a similar ritual. They threw black sheepskins into the hollow of a dead tree and let them rot. This was a sacrifice to the mighty spirits, Keremet, to appease them. Keremet aren't necessarily evil, but that's only for the Chuvash. Chuvash long ago accepted Orthodoxy or those living closer to Tatars Islam, but they kept a lot of ancient Bulgar pagan remnants and influenced their neighboring Mari people, so some rituals are similar between them. The Mari dark god is called Yin, but he's often called Keremet in the Chuvash way. Under that name, he's better known and gets identified with the Christian devil. Sacrifices to Keremet are done the same way as with the Chuvash, placed in the hollow of a dead tree to rot. It doesn't have to be black sheepskins. It can be a black ram, black dog, or any black animal or bird. Different Mari clans have different rituals. Some might even hammer iron teeth into the edges of the hollow, but you can't check that. Such rituals are kept in deep secret.
There was one interesting spot in my unremarkable city, Voronezh. Called it whatever, Svichka, Tower of Death and shit. It was an abandoned high-rise, fuck knows what it was originally for. When it opened, it was inhabited by Satanists, goths, emos, skinheads, anarchists, and other scum. Then regular school kids moved in. Building got famous for fucked up inscriptions inside, self-ends, there were a fuck ton, and creepiness. Overall interesting place. When I was school kid, often drank there, wandered in basement, tried to open bunker door, just looked at walls covered in graffiti. Ah yeah, and last thing. Almost on all beams in the building was engraved number 666. Recently wanted to relive youth, went there since I live not far, but fuck. Demolished to shit and built 2 9-story buildings. Pics, even videos can be googled by tags Tower of Death Voronezh or Svichya Voronezh.
Being an old school Schwartz Party guy from the Black Earth region, I can boldly say that there wasn't any real Satanism there, just some fucked up herky and wannabe black metal kids. I'll dump a couple funny cool stories. So I was there a few times and had the honor of talking to the locals. Characters were really batshit, but from that even more colorful. First, Herka, nicknamed Devil Girl, at the time of meeting she was about 12, looked 17. Remembered because when she entered Svichya she let out a piercing scream. Second, wannabe black metal fat ass in a sheepskin coat, don't remember name, was kinda alpha among the local scum, told everyone he killed a bum. Third, some Danila Bioforozhok, probably the only sane person I met in Svichya, but he had some wild stories too. Was also alpha like the black metal guy, but positive character unlike the fat ass. Gladly gave tours around Svichya, told cool stories about self-ends and bums, knew all the beef in Svichya, etc, etc, etc. Claimed FSB was watching him and his grandpa helped design Svichya. Also, there was a whole bunch of various nonconformists in checkered scarves and Converse. Being super cute back then, I actually hooked up with a Kurka I picked up there, not Devil Girl, on the Communisticheskoye cemetery. Bent her over and pressed against a huge monument, but that's not the point. The door they described got opened anyway, nothing there except water and mud. The place was creepy, more from the fucked up inhabitants and the pentagrams they drew on walls. Really remembered swastikas on the stairs on the top floor. Legend says first Voronezh skins drew them LOL. Attitude to Svichya is really fun. Stalker fuckers dreamed of reactors behind the hermetic door. Scum inhabiting Svichya heavily romanticized it. All the elite underground considered Svichya cringe, probably from fear of getting beaten by the local hooligans and boneheads. Normies shat bricks just from the sight. City buzzed with rumors of almost group self-ends. Interesting fact, don't remember any official news about self-ends in Svichya. Guess they were mostly bums who really loved making beds there and somehow got along with the population of that place. That's how it was. Everyone's Sector Gaz Patsani. Pick related is Svichya, by the way.
Krasnoyarsk-kun checking in. I've lived here 2 years now, student from some shithole, level 20, and heard few city legends so far, but know that almost all of Zvitka is built on old cemetery and many link that to creep. Better in Yeniseisk city, 300 kilometers from regional center. Old city, soon 400 years old. Remember Grandpa told story about construction of one local school, he was somehow involved. In essence, on site of ancient cemetery where locals were buried for 150 years, plus there was a church, they planted a park, church demolished to shit, built GDK there which burned down under unclear circumstances. When building school they dug up bones along with earth. School stood only 25 years, they say ghosts were there. Second story about women's monastery still standing by Milnichnaya River, also in Yeniseisk. Local nuns were apparently total whores. During bridge construction over that river found huge number of infant skeletons. Apparently our holy ones after birth dumped kids in water and continued their whorish holy life. And they say between churches of our city, more than a fuckton, there was a network of tunnels flooded after huge flood and lost. Otherwise another attraction.
Petrozavodskun checking in. Don't know how appropriate or on topic, but decided to drop this, gentlemen. My mom is from Komi Permiak district, and I heard a bit about a phenomenon once very known there called ikota or ikotka. Basically that funny term meant what we usually call demon possession. In brightest forms, person with ikota sometimes started screaming not in their voice, saying things they couldn't know, crowing like real rooster which seems physiologically impossible, and lots more like that. So myth like myth, every people has folklore. But what interested me a lot from mom's stories, even local doctors use term ikota as diagnosis in some cases. Phenomenon was so known and obvious in their daily life that almost no one was surprised. Mom herself has medical education and saw one possessed by ikota in hospital while still med student. I got really interested in her stories back then, thought internet has tons of such esoterics and amazing stories on topic. But the topic is not easy to Google. But Googles. Here's for example first thing popped when Googled right now. Would be extremely interesting to know if anyone knows something about this. Maybe it deserves separate thread if you anons get mood to dig deeper, can try collective effort to dig up materials.
There was a late 19th century story, still fresh, about a very curious old lady who really wanted to talk to the dead. The priest advised her, 3 days before Easter, stop eating, drinking, sleeping, then, on Easter night, go to the needed grave and ask your questions. The old lady said the dead answered her from the tombstone. Late 90s, early 2000s, one district had a maniac catching kids and gouging out their eyes. Early 2000s, one of my schoolmates spread rumors, confirmed by his little yard neighbors, about citizens living somewhere in garages near his house who killed people with throwing axes. Also they say in 1971 a UFO was seen over the city. Made a neat small hole in one window like the so-called phantom sniper if you get what I mean. And fucked off. If talking about the surrounding Karelia, better call some active rest lover on places of Karelian mosquito glory battles, who surely heard more wild stories than the standard set Vodlo Zero cylinder and Vodava Ara or Chertov stool. About the cylinder, around 1980 some unclear object fell into Vodlo Zero. For several years after locals near the lake saw a humanoid creature, 1.5 meters tall, with a big head. Vodava Ara Smert Gora, 150 kilometers from Luhi. Tours from local agencies, branded as bad place, though what kind of death isn't quite clear. Ask the Sami. Chertov stool, opposite shore of Onega relative to Petrozavodsk, is a relatively high flat rock, and every summer gathers lovers of witchcraft and thin energies with unclear goals. Overall, if you listen to some newcomers, every Karelian village swarms with sorcerers and witches. For example, my mother's mother-in-law long didn't want to let her son, my parents' groom, visit the village to the matriarch of my great-grandma's clan, mother's grandma. Because they will curse him or bewitch him there, they, Karelians, are all sorcerers. And also I predict darkness and darkness of tales about enchanted dense forests and swamps leading people astray. Water spirits in Lombok dragging them under, abandoned villages, and the above-mentioned Karelian, or Veps witches, then total fuck.
Krasnoyarsk. Heard a couple good stories about poltergeist? Poltergeist. Gosha in a house on Matrosova Street arranged serious terror. Even scientists came from Novosibirsk and recorded all the shit. But that was long ago. Poltergeist. In starts of a settlement in Yemelyanovsky district, Last year, reporters came but got kicked out and didn't get to film properly. On various paranormal sites, there's info about Krasny Grebin. I found a rock with similar name on Bazaicha, climbed there, nothing creepy found. On Chornaya Sobka also nothing creepy, though I think to properly go there with overnight, walk to Bazaicha, take photos. Place is beautiful there. Used to be apiary not far, maybe still is. Good honey cheap. Last year searched abandoned pioneer camp near D Suhuyan Genstab map, nothing found, but in supposed place stumbled on Bukhanka and couple guys building foundation from concrete blocks. Though dirt road to place was very shitty, can't drive after rain. That's really paranormal. How the fuck they hauled those blocks there?